Well, I am on a search and rescue mission for my blackberries. I don't even remember what variety they were now. You'll have to go back and watch the video from when I planted all these root cuttings. But basically from that dead tree to this dead tree to this almost dead looking tree to that live tree to that dead bush. That's where a dead tree was. It broke off. Anyway, 2 long rows of blackberry root cuttings in here, 40 foot each, I guess. And they are absolutely overgrown and taken over with just grass, weeds, clover, you name it. Yeah, shame on me. But there's a couple peeking through. So beautiful, beautiful pink blossoms. I'm used to seeing blackberries be, white blossom. But these are putting on these pink blossoms. You can see there's another one right there in the middle, just to the left of that clump of grass. And that's about all I see. I'm sure I'll find more as I pull, but this is absolutely mind-numbing work. And I'm struggling with it a little bit. So I think it's going to be a job for my high school helper. It's bee related, right? I mean, the bees pollinate the blackberries, so it's bee related. But yeah, anyway, I just want to mention that to you. I have no idea what the survival rate has been so far. Technically planted 100 crowns, I think, or 100 cuttings. I think like 25 of them germinated. And we'll see what actually survives. I did have these 3... I think they were Freedom Primarchs. They're supposed to be a thornless primocane, or no, sorry, they're not thornless, but they're a primocane variety. 2 out of 3 survived, and the 2 that survived are coming up here. This is new growth. This is new canes for this year. So really excited to see how they do in year 2 of growth. I planted them in what's supposed to be basically a 20-foot row here, but I only had the 3 plants, so I just stuck all 3 of them together. Just as kind of a reminder that that's what they are. They're in this row. They're not over there in the other rows with the thornless floricane. I want to say they were Wachitas, but I can't ever remember. Well, I just thought I'd come to you guys and give you a little update on the blackberry root cuttings that were planted spring of 2019. I made a video about that. I'll probably never remember to link it here, but you know what? If I do, I do. If not, you guys can go find it. Look in like, I don't know, February, March 2019 time frame, somewhere in there when I published it. Anyway, summary on that video, I planted 100 root cuttings. I believe they were Wachita or Arapaho or something, doesn't matter. Thornless upright cane variety. And I got those from, I think, Pence Brothers Nursery. I think that's right, in Arkansas. 100 root cuttings, $75. So that was 75 cents a piece per plant, right? And in the video, when I planted them, I talked about the economics there of, taking the gamble on planting root cuttings versus established plants and whether or not it was worth it. I still believe it was. I also planted back then 3 of these, I think they were Freedom Primarchs. So these are a primocane variety. But I'll just show them to you now. Of the Freedom Primarchs, I've got 2 out of 3 have survived. So this is last year's primocanes that are blooming now. So they're acting kind of like a floricane, but I've actually got little berries setting up. And then here are the primocanes that are already up this year. It is April 3rd. These primocanes are already 18 inches tall. That one isn't even on that plant. Our wild blackberries down here, they're scattered all out in the woods and they're blooming too. They've probably got primocanes about the same height. So it's not that this thing's really growing any more aggressively than a wild blackberry, but I thought it was a thorny variety. I thought all primocanes were thorny, but so far I'm not seeing any thorns on the primocanes or the floricanes. So I don't know, maybe it is thornless. I can't remember. I thought all primocane varieties as of last year were all still thorny. Anyways, out of the 100 root cuttings, I just finally got done pulling weeds. So we start over here at this tree there. We come along this row to here. We go along this row over to that tree. And then we go 40 foot along that side. I counted 23 plants. So 23 out of the 100 root cuttings appear to have made it into year 2. Now if you go back, I think I made an update. I didn't get anywhere near 100% germination. I didn't expect to. I was basically gambling, saying, look, if I get 50%, that's still a heck of a deal. That's still $1.50 a plant, right? It's looking like I got, and I know I had more plants. I know I lost some. So if you just say I got 50% germination, that's great. I severely neglected these plants like I do on pretty much everything else that I do. You know, I always want to do well, and I try to do well, and then I get distracted with a million other things. I did not have irrigation put on them. The weeds grew up around them, choked them back a little bit. Maybe this year I'll do better. Nasty camera. Anyway, so basically going into year 2, you know, like I said, we're a year after we planted the root cuttings, and I'm counting 23 plants. So you could just call that a 23% or 25% survival rate. If you call it 25 plants for $75, we're still at $3 a plant versus going to, you know, retail nursery store and wanting to pay $10 to $15 for a, granted, a bigger 2 to 3 year old plant. But when you're paying $10 to $15 for that really nice looking blackberry plant in the store, you're really paying just for a lot of dirt. You know, the plant just isn't worth that much, but they make it look real pretty in a big pot. So yeah, anyway, we're at basically $3 per plant into these thornless upright floricane varieties, the Wachita or Arapaho, whatever they were. So that's looking okay. I'll just show you some of them here. You know, this one here, this one's not big at all. You know, this is one that I would say just barely survived last year. Basically, here's last year's floricane on it. And this is a primocane that's just coming up this year on it. So not too bad. Oh, here's one. I don't know if I got that one on the count. Look, that might make number 24. And that, to me, that looks like probably a runner sprout, you know, coming up off the roots of one of these other ones, because that's a primocane. But I mean, it's so small that I can't imagine it's a primocane coming up off of the root cutting that was buried last year. It's almost got to be a new one. But this one here, you know, this looks a lot better. This is the floricane from last year. It's got a little bit of new growth on it here. And this particular plant is just starting to push up primocanes. Looks like I've got, maybe 2 or 3 there. I can't tell if that's one cane coming up or if that's 2 to 3 canes coming up. It kind of splits 3 ways. Here at the base, get whatever this little woody thing is. These things are a beast in my garden. But there's a couple other ones over here that are looking a little better. These aren't too bad. This one's got a nice push of green growth coming up on the floricane. Don't actually see a primocane coming off of this one yet, but the floricane's blooming. These through here, they're all a little bigger. See, I've got a big spot, a big patch from this tree about 10 to 12 feet. There's just nothing. None of them made it for some reason. And like I said, I don't remember which one sprouted. Here's a pretty decent bush from last year, and this is a really good looking primocane coming up off of it this year as the 2020 primocane there. This one here, this isn't too bad. I mean, remember, these are all root cuttings, so this is all on this plant here. That's all last year's growth. So that one did really, really well. And it's got 1, 2. It's got 2 at least here. 2 primocanes coming. If I can get the weeds out of them so you guys can see. Yeah, there's at least 2 right there. And there may be more, because like I said, the primocanes for this year are just coming up. Yeah, kind of the same thing. This one here is pretty big. And there's a couple others. These over here look really good. And these have actually, I think a couple of them tipped. Because they got, you know, they're supposed to be an upright cane variety, but man, they sure did tip over. And I don't know, maybe that was weed pressure pulled them down, but I mean, that sucker's, that's 3 foot that it grew last year all on its own. You can tell it's supposed to be an upright cane. It just got knocked over. Probably, like I said, weed pressure probably pulled it down. But that actually, look, all this here, this is all out of one. That's actually all one plant, I'm pretty sure, because you can see where the bases are at right there, side by side. That might all be out of one root cutting. So that's a really big one. And it's got lots of blossoms on it. It's got berries already setting, so yippee. We'll see how big these suckers get. You know, they're supposed to be, oh, you know, as big as your thumb or whatever. We'll see. We shall see. Anyway, just want to give you guys that little update. I know I rambled a lot, but I wanted to show off. I want to give you an update. It is kind of an ongoing project. You know, it's another one of my gardening long cons, if you will. I call them long cons, which is not a con at all. It's just a waiting game. It's just a matter of time getting these things established. You know, the blackberry plants and the fruit trees and all, and the hardwood trees and all this stuff. Years and years and years of commitment on these projects. But if you take that approach, you can start it pretty doggone cheap. And before you know it, you'll have produce just, you know, coming out all ends basically. You have more than you can handle, you know. So it's a real easy investment to make if you got the space to do it and if you got the time to want to commit to it. So anyway, 2020 blackberries are looking good. Sure, I wish more would have germinated and I wish more would have sprouted. I think, and I probably said this before, but I think if I would have planted them in pots or, you know, some sort of seed bed under irrigation, I think I would have gotten a lot better germination on those root cuttings. But it was like everything else. I knew they were coming for a month or two. I was ready for them. Well, ready in a mental sense, they were coming. I wasn't ready for them at all because I had kind of an idea of what I wanted to do, but I hadn't committed any space. I hadn't put any effort into setting up and getting ready for them. And so then it was just last minute and kind of done, you know, half-arsed, if you will. Anyway, whatever, still looking good. Give me another year or two. That row will be full out flush, and you'll never know that there was ever a struggle to begin with.